Welcome, everybody, to Full Throttle Business, the show where we interview entrepreneurs and business owners to uncover what it really takes to build a business operating at full throttle. My name is Kelly Peitz. I'm the owner of Action Coach Central and Southeast Virginia. And if this is the first time on the channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notifications when we drop new shows just like this one. Today, I have Mike Godwin, the founder and CEO of Principal Strategies, as my guest. Welcome, Mike. I really appreciate you taking time to be with us today.
Oh, Kelly, thank you so much. I'm honored to be on.
Well, to set the stage for our viewers, please just give us a brief overview of your background and tell us a little bit about your business principal strategies.
Sure, no problem. So my background, I started as a recruiter, actually, human resources, I don't know, 25 years ago, aging myself right now, right? But from there, I went to, I did some operation work for just a call center. And then from there, went back to human resources and was an HR coordinator, got promoted to a manager, then a director down in Charleston, South Carolina. I moved up here because actually my business partner now recruited me essentially. So I was doing some consulting work and did some consulting work up in Portsmouth, Virginia and for the parent company. And so it's a large hospital system. And Wes Mason, who's my business partner now on a number of different ventures that we have, 17, 18 years ago said, you know what, you should work for me. Let's make this happen, right? So I came and moved to Portsmouth, worked at this place called the Pines Residential Treatment Center. Some people may have heard of it. I was the vice president of human resources and he was the CEO. And ultimately, what we ended up doing was leaving I guess, for lack of a better term, W-2 life, I guess, so to speak, becoming entrepreneurs about 10 or so years ago and opening up our own hospital system, which we sold about 6, 7 years ago. And then now, Principal Strategies, I opened, and Wes is now, I guess, working for me in a way, which is kind of funny. So he's our chief of sales, and I'm the CEO. And we grew here very large in the pandemic. We grew very fast in the pandemic. We're an HR outsourcing firm, so companies can outsource their human resources department to us. So small companies typically got about 40 clients in the area now. And it's the type of thing where we utilize my expertise in human resources. I have a business partner as well I brought in named Brian Winterstein. He's our president. His expertise of he's about 30 years of HR experience as well. And we've got about a 20-person team now. So we've grown well and very excited to be on to talk about it.
Excellent. So, CEO of the company, tell us a little bit about that role and what you currently do in that role.
So I mean, as CEO, it's just over all of the aspects of whether it be operations, sales, whatever it may be. Right now, for us, more than anything else, it's looking at how we can. There's an adjustment, obviously, to anything, but an adjustment to AI is one of those things that we look at in relation to how we can mold our operations to be experts in an age where people, believe maybe they can just look on AI and get the answer, but what answer are you getting exactly? So, we can obviously vet that and see if that's the right answer. If that's something, they may give you the legal answer, but that's not necessarily the right answer for your employees, right? And so you obviously look at something like that, but at the same time, out there, sales is a big one in relation to any business owner for the most part. Getting out there and making sure that you continue to add clients because as everybody knows, it's the lifeline of your business, right?
Yeah, for sure. So, when you look at your role, how many hours do you typically spend working in your business, doing those in the business things, like
Yeah.
sales and stuff, and how many on the business strategy planning and things like that?
Just like any entrepreneur would say, I wish I did more on the business, right? In the business, right? So I'm going to give it right now about 50-50, which is not too bad,
Yeah.
right? So 50%, I'm really in the business, closing a deal, helping out with an operational issue, going to a client site, that type of thing. And about 50% of the time, I'm doing something that is more of a strategic way of running the business. And that could be pretty much anything, planning out, what we're going to do, if we're going to do an acquisition here, if we're going to do this, or looking at the long term and working with my senior team on what would be best in the direction that we want to go.
Yeah. So let's move into what makes your business special. I mean, who primarily do you serve? And if I were in the audience, how do I know that would be a good fit for your services?
Sure, absolutely. So we have on average, our average client is about 50 employees, right? 40, 50 employees. And that's skewed a little bit because we have one client that's almost 1,000 employees. It's a hotel group. So they have a lot of, they have 12 different hotels. And we have one client that is 5 employees. It's a financial services firm. So, you average that out. It's about the sweet spot for us in terms of our clients are in that area where they're like, you know what, we've grown. We're looking at options right now for what we should do. We need help with hiring. We need help with, maybe benefits administration, or we need help with payroll, things like that. Those are all things that we provide as an outsourced service. And so that sweet spot is in that, I'm going to say, range of, let's say, 10 employees to about 70 employees typically is that our average clients falling somewhere in that area.
Yeah. So what makes your business unique? I mean, why do your clients choose you over a competitor?
The biggest thing is personal touch. And the reason why that is very important is because a lot of our competitors are multi-billion dollar companies. You may have heard of the term PEO, a
Mhm.
professional employment organization. And what they offer is, let's say, hey, a group benefits package, that kind of thing. And we have a PEO as well, in which we offer a group benefits package and leasing back employees and that type of thing that a PEO does. But the difference is we're boots on the ground. So a vast majority of our clients, over 90% of them, are in Hampton Roads.
Yeah.
So because of that, we can drive to the location, deal with an investigation, do onboardings on site, a termination on site,
Mhm.
things that other multi-billion dollar companies can't do. You're not going to get from whether it be ADP, Insperity, whatever it may be, a personal touch in terms of a strategy session or something along the lines of that. It's going to be over a computer, or it's going to be on a phone, or whatever it may be, or even legal advice or HR and connection with your HR business partner or whatever it may be. Um, our system is one where we have about 4 or 5 HR managers that each have clients, right? And the good thing about our system is that we actually offer up equity, skin in the game to our HR managers. And what that means is essentially it's a sweat equity program. Whereas if somebody works with us over a period of time, they get small shares in the company and
Yeah.
eventually be added to the operating agreement as an actual equity holder in the company if they eclipse a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
So because of that, we get some extremely talented HR people because human resources typically is not offered any kind of ownership in any company, right?
Mhm.
And so it's a good match of one, you get people who are extremely dedicated to making sure you're good as a client because they have skin in the game, right? And two, they are there. They can boots on the ground. They can actually come and see you and actually talk to you face to face about a situation or whatever it may be.
Yeah, it's definitely that relationship building, is so important, and it's lost so much today with technology and everything, just building that relationship. So what's helped your business grow?
What's really, I think, helped it grow was there was an outsourcing trend in the pandemic. I mean, that was one that I think definitely helped the business grow, where people were looking more at outsourcing, and that is an option in relation to support services like HR. But recently, that's completely gone away. I mean, so over the past really couple of years, what's helped our business grow is word of mouth from our actual clients. 95, this is actually kind of scary for a business owner, honestly, but 95% of our new business are referrals from clients, right?
Mhm.
The reason that's scary is because you really can't control it as well, right? You want
Yeah.
50% of your sales or whatever it may be to come from new business coming in that nobody knows. You know what I mean?
Well, you actually can control referrals in a certain aspect by developing a great referral program,
Yeah,
but the great thing about referrals is they're typically the highest conversion lead source you can get. So that's
absolutely right.
good. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what's one thing you wish more people knew about your business?
One thing I wish people would know about our business is that we've actually, been around for a little bit, and we're up to about 6 years now, And we are the only business that is not a multi-billion dollar business that does this here in Hampton Roads.
Mm.
So essentially, we're extremely unique. We're boutique. We customize packages for anybody that we talk to in relation to their business. And so because of that, it's the type of thing where, just reaching out, getting to know us, finding out if it's a fit. There's no cost to that, of course, right?
Mhm.
But it we make it a fit. You know what I mean? We can make it a fit. It's not one of those where it's like, hey, off the shelf, big company, this is what it's going to be. This is how we're going to do it because we know this
Yeah.
is how it should be. That's not what we believe in. And
Yeah.
also a big thing about our business I want people to know is that the three entrepreneurs that are involved in this have an array of different experience. And so even I spoke of our chief sales officer. He was the CEO of the hospital system that we sold, that had 1,200 employees in 11 locations. So he has a different level of experience as a CEO that you're probably not going to get in terms of many people in this area. If you run into a problem or whatever it may be, we're all hands on deck. It's
Mhm.
not just the HR, but it's also, hey, we can help out with strategy and something that happens or whatever it is, you want to bounce it off us just as a thing. It's a part
Yeah.
of the package.
Yeah, the added value for sure on that. So this leads me to marketing, which is something that's vital to every business and often an area that a lot of business owners struggle with. You
Yeah.
did mention you get most of your leads as referrals, but how many different marketing strategies do you use?
We have two primary marketing strategies right now. One is we have a very strong social media strategy that is being headed by a company. We've actually outsourced it to a company that was referred to me by a friend. And ultimately, that company just basically goes in to LinkedIn, to Facebook, whatever it may, it creates content, things of that nature, is creating a newsletter for us, going to be posting that, wants to make more connections. And then pushes us to make more connections as well. Because you're absolutely right. I mean, LinkedIn is one of those things that I've ignored forever. But, hey, guess what? I still have 1,600, 1,700 connections from it, just by posting something 10 years ago or whenever I created my LinkedIn account and just saying, hey, I'll accept it. Yeah, I'll accept a friend invite or whatever maybe. Or, hey, how you doing? I haven't seen you in a while, and blah, blah, blah. And it leads to more and more, connections. And
Yeah.
so I've never used those connections to build business. It's not, I've never, reached out to someone on LinkedIn to say, hey, would you like to, set, time to sit down and talk about my business,
Mhm.
it's more that is what we're getting into as a marketing strategy. The second one, and I'm not sure if this is direct marketing. I think it's direct marketing. Is we're using an AI email campaign,
Mhm.
or essentially we have a person who is a tech guy, right? Great guy, and what he does is essentially build these emails from, and people have seen them, these salesy type emails, but it talks a little bit about what the business is doing because it's scraping AI and scraping
Mhm.
information from the web about the business. So it's
Yeah.
not just a hey, what's going on type of email. It's I noticed that you guys are interested in corporate social responsibility. I see that you attended blah 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 blah. Hey, did you know that we attended blah blah blah? It's that
Right.
thing, and we would love to just have coffee with you and talk to you a little bit about it. We're getting so on average when you do a direct email campaign, from what we've seen in statistics, about a 1 or 2% hit rate.
Open rate. Yeah.
Yeah, to respond. We're getting 6, 7% from this. And
Yeah.
so when you're getting numbers like that, and we're targeting through Zoom Info and all these different things, certain businesses and that type of thing, when you're getting hit rates like that, that's definitely a success.
Yeah.
And we're converting some of those to actual businesses closing. We've already closed a
Yeah.
few clients, and we've just started this a few months ago. So very, very excited about that campaign. In addition to that, well, I guess it's not a marketing piece or whatever, but we've opened up a licensed a location in Chicago where we have two people who we worked with in the past that are opening up a location in Chicago. It's not going to be our name; it's under a different name, but we're starting that AI email campaign up there to build their market.
Okay.
in Chicago. So it's just a license agreement that we have. They're utilizing, our information, but at the same time, it's their own company name and all that kind of stuff. And the
Yeah.
market is just Chicago. So,
Yeah. Excellent. So what approach have you taken to track your leads? I mean, do you have a CRM that you prefer using or?
we used HubSpot for a while. And honestly, I I don't think we were at a size to where we needed it. I was like, this is
Yeah.
like I don't know, driving a Corvette to
Well, HubSpot's enterprise level, really, and it's so expensive to get all the things that you need in it. Yeah.
exactly. So what we ended up doing was just we just use spreadsheets now. We have a series of spreadsheets that are just they're in one, they're different tabs and that kind of stuff. And it tracks it pretty well. Would love to see something maybe in the middle,
Mhm.
and I'm not sure what that software is. It's sort of in the middle, more affordable, still a CRM, but something easy to use like HubSpot. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's definitely some out there, so we can talk about that
Mhm.
uh, offline. So, well, we spent a bunch of time focusing on the business and sharing some of your best practices for the audience. I'd love to take a step back
Sure.
and dive into your journey a bit more. So, you've been in business for yourself for a while, but why did you choose to go into business for yourself?
You know, I always felt like I was going to do it. When I was in college, I took an entrepreneurship class at the University of Florida, and I took a few other. I had a business minor, and I got my MBA as well from South Carolina. And ultimately, when I was going through that process, I always thought, I can do this myself. I always felt like there were constraints when I was in my MBA program, I was working at the same time. I always felt there were so many constraints. And so I felt like, and it wasn't that I was running circles around people or that kind of thing. It's more along the lines of the rules and that type of thing in relation to ideas and hey, we're going to do this or that. I always just felt kind of held back a little bit. I remember one CEO pulled me aside and they were like, "Hey, Mike, do you mind trying for a little bit, just single tasking a little bit?" And I thought to myself, it's like, isn't that like the worst thing you can say to one of your star employees? Can you single
Yeah.
task? I mean, you're basically
Yeah.
taking, hey, let's just make the bar a little bit lower, right? So
Yeah.
I always thought about that as an indicator that I really just need to open up my business ultimately, and that's why
Yeah. Well,
taking
what was the transition like for you when you did that?
the transition was it was scary. I mean, like anything else, you think, well, how am I going to get paid? What is going to happen? I had I was newlywed at that point, and we had not talked about having kids anytime soon, but there's that thought of, hey, we're going to have kids at some point and that kind of thing. And I remember thinking, you know, we'll just, hey, we'll take a little bit here, we'll take a little bit here, and that kind of stuff. And she was working at the same time, so that was fine, right? But then when we started, really developing it and growing the company, then we could take an actual paycheck, obviously a W-2 paycheck, but it's your business, so whatever it
Mhm.
is. And we could take more from that and then more, and then it became like, okay, why was I so worried about this? This is really good concept. This is working. So, I didn't go through my business partner did, right? My primary business partner. I didn't go through, I had to sleep on a bunch of couches or anything like that. Thank goodness,
Mhm.
right? But at the same time, there were times where it was really tight. And so that first probably 6 months was tough in relation to, hey, let's push out the mortgage a little bit, or let's push out this a little bit, or that type of thing. With the
Yeah.
idea of the sacrifice is that we're going to get to a point where we don't have to do this, you know.
Yeah. So when you look back at that journey, specific challenges did you face early on?
So, I mean, really, the challenges were just getting things up and running and going. I mean,
Mhm.
back then, it was relating to healthcare and things like that. And that's not an automatic, easy to, I mean, you got to recruit the right people, you got to get things in place. And you got to, I mean, right now, we're actually doing it again, so to speak, through a program. It's going to be in Gloucester. It's a substance abuse program for veterans, actually.
Mhm.
And so, see, all of the hospitals that we've owned in the past were all behavioral health based, right? And so we did substance use programs, we did, a number of different addictions programs and things like that. And so we wanted to give back to the community here. We had been meeting with Peninsula, what is it, Middle Peninsula Planning Commission, and they had a property that just really wasn't being used, and got a $1 million grant to get it renovated so that we can, put the right stuff in place to make it a outpatient substance abuse program on the water for
Mhm.
veterans. So do boating, fishing, crabbing,
Yeah.
cool stuff, right?
Mhm.
But we haven't even opened yet. It's 3 years later, you know?
Mhm.
So that's an extreme example, let's say, but it's an example of it's not the type of business, at least healthcare is not the type of business that just, it happens. You got to go through, the regulators. You got to get a certificate of occupancy to
Yeah.
building the right way. You got to go to zoning. You got to go to all these things that take a lot of time. And for this one, we had to go through construction. Granted, we haven't put money into it, so that's good. I mean, we're utilizing grant money to actually do it, right?
Yeah.
And we're about maybe a few months out from getting things going. We'll have a grand opening of some sort.
Nice.
But that's just, I imagine if that was my only income.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'd be, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt taking out loans right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, so what's been a recent challenge that you're dealing with your current business?
Just like anybody else, I mean, we're much better now, but about 6 months ago, we went through a talent situation where we were growing, and we had kind of run out of the, hey, I know this person, I know, let's get this great HR person we know over and that kind of stuff. And we had to advertise. We had to start really looking at how we're advertising, what we're doing, and that kind of stuff. This was actually more than six, about a year ago. And so just like any firm out there, these days, really, we hear about it more than anything else, is that finding the right people that fit our culture. So fit, talent, and potential are the reasons why you can have a great job match, right? Talent and potential, for the most part, you can tell in an interview, you can tell by reading somebody's, resume, that kind of stuff. Fit is the number one thing that is hard to determine. And so we are very, very we are like to extremely extreme fit is what we need. You know what I mean? In
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
minds.
Yeah.
Like we go so far as to people are being evaluated. I read an article yesterday about a CEO, Fortune 500 CEO, that pays taxi drivers to pick up people and then gets the taxi driver for an interview, for any interview, right? It's a large company. And then ask the taxi driver for their opinion of the person, right?
Hmm.
So that's like the beginning of the interview process is when they're not even thinking they're interviewed. We do the same thing. So we
Yeah.
take people to lunch as one of the first, steps or final steps. And we let that person talk to the waiter or waitress or bartender, wherever we are, and see how they interact.
Hmm.
They don't necessarily know that that is a part of the process.
Yeah.
If they say nothing, that's a concern. If they say a bunch of stuff and they're like demanding of the person, that's a concern, right? But if they talk to the person as a person, right? Because they're working just like anybody else. I was a wait staff at one point. My expectation is that they're going to treat them like a human, great person. And, it's not just when a person is in service to you, how you treat them is a great judge of character, right?
Yeah, for sure. And culture fit is, like you said, is the most important thing in hiring process, period. I mean, because you can teach the skill, you can teach stuff for the most part, but the culture fit you can't. And I talk to so many business owners that say, yeah, well, I hire on culture. And then I ask them, well, what's your culture? Is it
Yeah.
intentional? Do you have it written down?
Yeah.
And they don't. So it's like, so what are you hiring on? So
Yeah.
it's one thing to hire, people say that, but then to actually have a written down points of culture that you're actually, evaluated on, super important. Well, let's fast forward a bit and see look at what's coming next. So where do you see your business in the next 3 to 5 years?
So I'd love to see our business, so, having maybe double the client size, 60 to 80 clients, let's say, another 10 to 15 employees. And, I'd love to see, I'd like to see us have deliberate, continuous growth and not extremely rapid growth and not plateau or decline, right? So I'd
Hmm.
like to see us have building the infrastructure type of growth to where we've been creating over the past 2 years We've been very deliberate with streamlining processes, streamlining things like that. Even though we're a boutique, there's still a process behind it. You know what I mean? There's still a
Yeah.
process to determining what a person needs, right? And a process to figuring out, okay, then at that point, how do we do that? You know what I mean? And so it's a little bit of back and forth, let's say, but for the most part, there are some common trends and things, especially best practice and human resources that we utilize.
Mhm.
And we have really mapped out those things to make it easier for our HR managers when they go into a new client to say, okay, this is what this is how we do this is what I recommend. You know what I mean? Because I've already done this 5 times and I've got it process mapped out, you know? So I think we're at that stage where processes and systems are very important to us. So
Yeah, for sure. Systems run businesses. I mean, that's just the way it is. So, what's your approach been on goal setting? I mean, how many goals do you set at a time? How do you document them? What's the time frame?
we have some metrics. I mean, I like the KPIs and metrics. And so what I'll do is every year I'll look at our goals and see what we're going to be doing to change that.
Hmm.
We have growth, goals that we will surpass. And that usually has to do with revenue or profit margin or things of that nature. But there's also client satisfaction goals. So we do for every time we invoice once a month. We always have a SurveyMonkey link in the invoicing email that says, please provide us feedback, you know? And so we're constantly asking for feedback from all of our clients so that we can improve. But what that does is create a metric for us to drive off of. And I'm proud to say that, out of all of our clients, we hover around 4.5 out of 5 in relation to client satisfaction, which is good, you know. Now,
Yeah,
want to get to 4.9? Absolutely, right? And so
yeah,
that's where we have some areas to improve and things that we can do better on. But ultimately, it's good to be in that range where it's a positive experience that people are receiving for our services.
yeah. And I mean, that's a great way to do it because it serves one thing, give you the information, but depending on how those surveys are written, and if they write stuff, you can utilize test as testimonials as well,
That's
and
great.
generate that. So, um, when you think about the future of business, it's important to address the topic of building a great team. And you discussed that was, 6 months or so was ago, that was a little bit of a challenge for you. But how would you describe your leadership style and has it evolved? How has it evolved?
I think it has. I mean, when I go from when I think about back when I was working for the Fortune 500 companies and things like that, my leadership style was very different. It wasn't as feedback generating and that kind of stuff. It was more hey, this is what I've kind of learned. This is how it should go. We should do it like this, that kind of thing, kind of a pushing type of thing. Now, I take a tremendous amount of feedback from our employees and our clients to really craft what our direction is going to be. And if you're not, for me, if I'm not more of a servant leader now, then I'm not as effective. I've found at least. I was much more of a transactional type of leader back
Yeah,
then, and I became more of a transformative type of leader. Now it's kind of a mix of transformative and servant. I essentially tell my employees, I tell people all the time, it's like everybody feels that, hey, we're a client first. What are we doing? We're employee first. And
hmm,
and what that really means is if we do right and we serve our employees well, the clients are going to be served extremely well. It
yeah.
all trickles down. And so really we're
Well,
much more of an employee first company.
yeah, and exactly how it should be when you look at the cycle of business. I mean, most owners try to take care of everything, their employees, their customers, the business, when actually you should be focusing on your employees. Because if they're taken care of, guess who's taking care of the customers? Your employees are.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
um, you discuss your growth and adding more team and more clients. So, what areas of training do you believe that your people will need most in the next 6 months based on your current business climate and where your business is heading?
So the areas of training for my employees, right?
Yeah.
I always say that A good emotional intelligence training is always great. Even if you're awesome at it and you're the best at communicating and you're best at listening, that kind of stuff, you can do better. Everybody can do better. So I'm doing an emotional intelligence training for one of our larger clients coming up next month. And I want to do that also. I've not done it yet with our employees, and I'd like to do that with our employees as well. Just
Yeah.
because that's something that really, if you master that, you'd be so much better at relationship building, and client services is relationships, I
Yeah.
mean, more than anything else, right? And so also would love to see uh, our employees, some of them do and some of them don't. It's up to them, right? But to get out and help out a little bit with going to meetings, getting to know people in the community, getting to know things like that. I mean, it helps
Mhm.
with the sales efforts, of course, but I just want to see them develop. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so I encourage them to get out. I provide trainings for them that are sort of pay for trainings for them, pay for them to get certified in human resources if they're not already. Most are, but I mean, just want to make sure that we pay for every piece of it, and we offer a tuition reimbursement program, just so that hey, if they want to get out and they want to get a degree when they don't have one, no problem. We want to help provide some foundation for them, and
Yeah.
I think that's my way of thinking about this. And we had a story. We had a 4-year employee that was with us 4 years who left, and she had a phenomenal offer, phenomenal job. And one of my business partners was like, "Man, doesn't it suck to develop someone so much and then they leave?" I'm like, "Absolutely not. We should celebrate this. Celebrate
Yeah.
the fact that we actually took someone from she was an intern, right, to an HR director. You know what I mean? That means
Yeah.
we're that good, right?"
Yeah, yeah. I mean, people outgrow positions, they outgrow company. I mean, the goal is your company grows so that you can move them up too, right? And give them those positions. But yeah, that development is amazing. And when they know there's a development process within your company, the people are going to want to they're going to want to be there, and so that's awesome. So, um, man, we've covered a lot of ground today in our conversation and a lot of really, really good nuggets. As we begin to wrap up, I have a few rapid fire questions, kind of quick top of the head answers, okay? All right. So the first one, what's the key to success for you?
Focus.
All right. So what's one piece of advice that you'd give other business owners?
Be patient.
And education and continue learning is super important in business. What's one book that you've read or read recently that's influenced your thinking?
Getting to yes.
All right. And remember the author to that?
Yeah. So Fisher, Uri, and Patton, I think it
Yeah.
is written back in the 80s. It's a book on negotiations. And it's phenomenal. I
Yeah.
actually reread it not too long ago, and I taught a class on it at Georgetown University actually a while back.
Excellent. Yeah. So if you had to choose only one area of your business that you could immediately improve tomorrow, what would it be?
Marketing, just because it's so new.
Yeah. Awesome. So before we get to the final question of the day, how can others learn more about you and your company and how can they get in contact?
Absolutely. So you can see us on the web, principalstrategies.com. That's Principle strategies.com. And or feel free, actually, you can call, I guess, our main number if you'd like to call. Our number is 757-626-3533.
All right, so last question of the day.
Sure.
What inspires you most these days?
My children, more than anything else, honestly. Love them. I've got a 5-year-old now and a 2-year-old. And I've been able to, one of the greatest things about being an entrepreneur is that I've been able to spend more time with them, honestly, because I can take a step back whenever I want to take a step back. And they inspire the hell out of me because I'm starting to see little bits of their personality that are similar to mine, right? And I'm
Awesome.
encouraging things in them and that kind of stuff. And I see a little sales guy running, or analytical girl running around. So got a little boy and a little girl. So excited.
Excellent. Those are great closing words. Thanks so much for taking time with us today.
Mhm. You got it.
That wraps up this episode of Full Throttle Business. If you're a business owner who wants to grow your company, increase profits, and get your time back, visit the link in the description and schedule a free strategy session.